Hello guys, Josh here from Sportitude Running, and today is a shoe review and we're going to be introducing you to the Brooks Launch GTS 8. This shoe here has just landed in Australia first half of 2021, and although it is a new name to the Brooks running family, it is a subtle upgrade on the Ravenna franchise, which Brooks have had a decade now. So what we're going to be doing in this review is talking to you about all the engineering features in the Launch GTS 8 from the outsole, the midsole and the upper. We're going to profile the runner that could be considering this shoe, what the shoe is designed for with regards to the amount of cushioning and responsiveness packed into this little guy. And we're also going to talk about the changes, or the subtle variances I should say, from the Launch 8. So there is the Launch GTS, and then there's the Launch 8 as well, which is a very similar shoe to this little guy, but is obviously targeting a different runner. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay guys, so first things first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna profile the foot type that could be considering this shoe. Now, as you can see there on the medial side through here, we have got a blended guide rail system. So what that essentially means is the guide rail technology and the outsole is all one piece. So a couple of seasons ago in the Ravenna, that was co-molded. So the guide rails were sitting on top of the midsole technology. So it's all one piece now, and the guide rails is essentially placed on that medial side for a little bit of arch support for that runner that needs some assistance through that mid-start stage to minimize the impact of overpronation. So what that essentially means is when you have a runner that comes down on contact point, comes through to mid-start, so the heel to mid-starts phase of their gait cycle, you'll see a little bit of tendency to collapse on that medial side before they engage and get ready to toe off out of their gait cycle. So although if someone is an excessive pronator and needs a little bit more support, I'd be kind of cautious of putting them into a shoe like this for their daily training. The main reason being is it's not an overly supported shoe. It's really almost like a take on that dynamic support system to give a little bit of support for that runner. And talking about what this shoe is designed for, it is a lighter shoe. So it's not your traditional adrenaline GTSs or your glycerins out there, or your ghosts for that matter from the Brooks running family. It's not as cushioned as those three models. It is slightly firmer underneath the foot and also lighter. So therefore, it is really targeting that runner that's looking for a lighter tempo/interval shoe. And I would even say for that person who's looking for potentially their first race day shoe and hasn't gone down that racing flat or sort of path just yet, put yourself into a shoe like this, notice the reduction in weight, notice the responsiveness underneath the foot, and see how you go. So it's not a bad shoe, it's pretty versatile. There are some runners out there that still like this shoe for mileage running, and there's no rule to say you can't use this for mileage running. It's the runner that doesn't want to feel like there's too much squish underneath their foot. They want a responsive feel the whole way through their transition. So as I said, it is a very versatile shoe, this one. Okay guys, let's get stuck into the engineering of this shoe. So what I'm going to do is, it's a bit of a almost a three-way comparison. We're going to be looking at the GTS 8, looking at the Ravenna, and also looking at the Launch. So there's a fair bit of information to get through. Although the changes are so minor across the outsole, the midsole and the upper, we're just trying to give you all the information you need at home to see where this shoe sits and see whether you can add this into your shoe rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the men's one down because the three samples I have here in front of me are all ladies. So I'm holding the ladies GTS 8 here in front of me. So what I'm going to do first is talk about the changes between this and the Launch. So I've got the Launch 8 here, and as you can see, how confusing, almost the same colors, and the same thing in the men's series as well. So what we have here is you've got the medial posts or the medial guide rail support with the Launch GTS 8 for that overpronator, and then the Launch 8, it's a neutral shoe on the midsole platform through there. And the main changes in the outsole, as you can see, as I bring it closer to the camera, the Launch GTS 8 has a wider platform through the mid-starts phase through here. So where my finger is tapping, that is wider than what is on offer in the Launch 8. So a little bit more real estate underneath the foot as you're coming through your whole transition. And the other noticeable change is essentially, I'll bring this close to the camera through here, but the entry point for heel strike, as you can see the cutaways or the flex grooves into the midsole in comparison to what you have in the Launch 8 through there. This is going to be marginally softer underneath the foot, so it's going to compress at a different rate to what the Launch 8 will. So this is really neutral. Although the geometry in the midsole is exactly the same, you get the same DNA or BioMogo DNA cushioning system, just making those subtle changes with the slits in the back corners here and here will offer a slightly different experience on that entry point for a heel striker. And then that transition through to the midfoot as well, being the fact the Launch GT8 is marginally wider. So it is a little bit heavier, but you've got slightly more stability on offer with the GTS8. Now comparing it to the Ravenna. So this is essentially, we're saying goodbye to the Ravenna series right now. It's served a lot of runners very, very well over the years, over a decade and a bit. But at this point in time, we're saying hello to the GTS series. So you can see similar sort of concept from the outsole. You've got full ground contact the whole way through. But the major difference between this shoe and this shoe in my hand through here is the flex groove or the encapsulated rubber in the forefoot. So you can see flex groove 1 and 2 through here. The rubber the rubber covers a little bit more of that horizontal plane, both medial to lateral side, in comparison to what you have on the Ravenna through there. You might argue, why would they make such a drastic change? And that is all in the midsole density, which we'll get to in 2 ticks. But as you can see, very similar concepts from the Ravenna to the Launch. If anything, they've just improved the overall stability with the outsole, which is a good thing. Okay guys, let's get talking about the midsole now. So, as I've touched on, it is a BioMogo DNA cushioning system. So, best way to explain that is it's a really simplified foam. Inside this setup, there's no overly complicated extra sort of silicon pods or changes in features with regards to the cushioning system from the back half to the front half. The only change is in the heel to toe drop, which is a 10mm offset between the heel and the forefoot. So it's a very consistent foam from the back to the front. And in conjunction or comparison to where it was with the Ravenna, yes, on paper, it's a BioMogo DNA cushioning system, but I can tell you at home right now, the new model is significantly softer underneath the foot. So from that first step in, it feels softer, it feels lighter than what was on offer from the Ravenna franchise last season. And as I said before, with that flex groove set up through the forefoot and here, the reason it covers more across the front through here and here on that encapsulated rubber is because the foam is softer. So because they made the foam softer, and the shoe itself needs to offer a little bit more rigidity under that first metatarsal through there as you release out of your running gait. So that's the biggest change in the midsole between the two. They still have the guide rails, of course, and the guide rails through here on the Launch GTS 8. So that's the difference through there. And as I hold the Launch 8 in my hands through here, the biggest change between that and this sort of guide, which we've touched on a couple of times, is the guide rails. You've got guide rails on the GTS 8. You don't have guide rails on the Launch 8 through there. The same cushioning system, the same heel to toe drop. It's just they've taken away that guide rail system through the Launch 8. Okay guys, let's get to the upper of this shoe. Now, probably one of my favorite features of this update. The main reason being is when you put your foot into the shoe, the first thing that most people experience when they're trying on a new shoe or trying a shoe for their first run is we always dial in on the cushioning system. Okay, what's it doing for me? Is it giving me cushioning in response where I want it? Because this shoe is a pretty simple design with regards to what's on offer underneath your foot, I really wanted to focus on the changes in the upper with this shoe when I went for my first run. And the great thing about this shoe, it is available in widths. So, and unlike the Launch 8, this Launch 8 is only available in standard widths, men's and women's. So that's D for men, B for women's. But the Launch GTS 8, like the Ravenna franchise, they're actually rolling out widths. So you've got a D standard for the men's and a 2E. And the ladies, you're going to have a B and a D. So you've got a good variety of widths through there. I love it when brands make a shoe and make it offer it in widths. Now, the reason I like this upper is because the actual air mesh or the engineered air mesh up top is very light and very breathable, but they don't sacrifice fit, feel, and durability to get that outcome. The other great feature is this new sort of heel counter design. So you can kind of see in comparison to where we had the Ravenna last season, how it was, you'd almost say that's a traditional heel counter. Nothing too magical about that little guy from what you see across the industry. But we're seeing a few shoes now that are sort of being led by a couple of brands, and what they're finding through here is the heels are almost pixieing out, or like an elf sort of shape or design. Technically, there probably is a name for this design, but I haven't actually dialed into what it is. But why they have done that is because they want to increase the comfort levels at the back of your heel through here. So the heel counter, or the internal heel counter, is the same height as the Ravenna. So the plastic system that locks in that heel is the same height. However, this little guy runs up a little bit higher up the back of your Achilles and just ever so slightly leans away. So you still get the lockdown support you require, but the comfort on the base of that heel and Achilles setup, which I'm going to refer to right now. So the comfort levels as the shoe just curls away through here, takes a fair bit of pressure off of that Achilles. So you shouldn't get, or you get very minimal irritations on the back of that Achilles with friction, which is a fantastic little feature. And as I touched on, as it comes through to the midfoot, it's got a really, really good lacing sort of lockdown. I really like the flat lace in this shoe. I could dial in, I can get pretty versatile with our lacing tricks through here. We can miss eyelets, create more depth if people need it. And they've got that little additional eyelet on offer for those that want to lock in those heels with a heel lock lacing system, which is fantastic. Okay guys, there you have it. That is my take on the Launch GTS 8 for this season from Brooks. So just to recap, it has replaced the Ravenna in the running offering from Brooks. So don't be alarmed if you've had a Ravenna previously and you've liked them. You can easily transition yourself into the Launch GTS 8. That'll be an easy switch for you, the runner. And just note, the GTS 8, which stands for Go-To Shoe, and the Launch itself are very similar shoes, but are targeting a different runner. So a little bit more arch support in the GTS 8, neutral platform with the Launch 8. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay guys, if you've tried the Ravenna series previously, I'd love to hear your feedbacks, what you've liked about this shoe, what you've maybe disliked about this shoe. Drop it in the comments field below. If you've got any questions, comments, queries, concerns, whatever it is, please drop it in the comments field below about this Launch GTS 8. It's a little ripper. I'm really looking forward to hearing the runners' feedback over the next few months with this shoe, and your feedback is just as important, so let us know how you have gone with this shoe. And guys, until next time, stay safe, be kind to each other, happy running, and we will see you out on the road. Take care. See you next time.